We are live. Good evening and welcome to Talkin Kop.
Ari, that went really fast. There was no countdown.
I know.
So we're just going to go with it. I'm your host, Ashley. I'm here with Chris. I'm here with Kev. We are here to break down the Villa game that's coming up against Liverpool tomorrow. So now that the dust has settled a little bit from our, close call with Wolves, let's call it that. How are you guys feeling? What about you, Chris? What's your feeling going into this game?
I'm looking forward to this one. I actually think this will suit us better than a Wolves game. I think it'd be more like the performance we saw against Bournemouth when we play against a better side. I think that sort of helps us. And Villa, while Unai Emery is a very defensive coach, they're not going to sit in the same way. I think when you see their lineup, you're naturally going to be on alert because the one thing they've got is goals and pace in attack. And so we know we're going to have to be a bit more switched on than we were against Wolves. So I look forward to it. The game is normally good, and our record there is fairly decent, to be honest.
Yeah, our record against Emery is actually quite good. He has one win out of 12. The only win that he's had against us was with Sevilla in that Europa League final. So
we don't talk about that.
Yeah. So, other than that, in Premier League terms, it bodes well. What about you, Kev? How are you feeling going into this match?
Same. Looking forward to it because Villa offer different threats. They'll have a go. They're in decent form without being exceptional. But I'll be honest, me and Chris, we were chatting about this last night. I watched the highlights on Match of the Day of their game against Ipswich, and I don't know how they didn't win that. I really don't know how they didn't win that. They made more than enough chances to win it, and they got caught. But they'll have a go. They'll have a proper go. They're at home. Like I said, since the 7-2, I don't think we've lost there, and we scored plenty there. And it's not unknown for us to play against the Unai Emery side. Klopp always had bags of respect for him. I'm sure Arne Slot's going to be the same. You have to be on your game when you're going there. They have got really good attacking options all across the front line. But they give you chances, and you have to take them. There's no excuses left. We're the only side in English football unbeaten away from home in the league, apparently. So you want to keep that run going as long as possible, and any points you pick up away from home are bonuses because you expect to win your home games. So what you can pick up away is the cream on the icing, to be honest. And tomorrow night's another 7:30 kickoff. It will be a tough game. They will get chances, and we're just going to have to ride out, storms during the game. But we will get chances too. I think it could be a really good watch. And yeah, I think Chris's analogy there about the Bournemouth game is probably fairly accurate. They don't launch it forward, launch it long, looking for knockdowns and what have you. They'll try to play their way through the thirds, and they've got players who can play. So if you allow them time on the ball and time to pick their head up to pick passes, they could make you look silly. But at the same time, they've played the same number of minutes as ours. Shawnee made a great analogy the other night. It's like when you're playing against the likes of Everton and to an extent, any side who isn't involved in Europe, they do have the advantage of not having the same amount of minutes in the legs as what we do. Villa are in the same boat as us. They played the same competitions as us, and they've qualified for Europe in the top 8. So that alone tells you they're a very good side. But they've also got players with the same kind of minutes as what ours has. So fitness and stuff like that shouldn't be an issue. It should be a really good watch. It should be a really entertaining game. But it's we're more than capable of getting 3 points in.
Yeah, I think the Champions League to Europa League rotation, I think always hits you hard in the first couple of years. You're back into it because you can get away in Europa League with being a bit more League Cup 11s. You can't rotate as heavily in the Champions League. I mean, we were able to do it in the last game because we managed to do it very well, but we've also got the squad depth to do that. I think sometimes that's hit Villa hard a little bit as well.
Yeah, their injury record going into this game is not great. I believe they petitioned to try to have this game pushed back. I mean, obviously this game was moved forward due to, the League Cup and, the, supposed conflict of scheduling, but they are at a point where they are quite thin, especially in the defensive department. I mean, they do have a very good home record. We were just talking about our away record. They are also, I believe they're up there with one of the best home records in the league at the moment. They're unbeaten in 12 at home. So they have 6 wins and 6 draws currently. So in terms of, you've got kind of 2 form sides going head to head. So it definitely should be an interesting game. What do you guys think about their injuries? What do you think? How do you think that's going to affect them, Chris?
It's always the same with injuries. They're all sort of same area. It's Kamara, who's a centre mid playing centre back. It's Matty Cash is a doubt. Cons is a doubt. Onana's out. It's all the defensive areas. So that's where it gives Liverpool an opportunity to attack them. The concern is, though, at the other end of the pitch, Watkins is fine. Rashford's found form. Asensio's look good when he's come off the bench. Rodgers is in top form. Bailey might be back. McGinn coming from deep. I think that's where your concern is them on the ball. Tielemans, is a man reborn, because the Tielemans we're seeing for Villa is not the Tielemans we saw for Leicester. They've really got his fitness levels up, and he's back to being an integral player. So I think for Liverpool, the key is going to be keeping the ball, and I think the midfield battle is going to be the key part. I can see. I think Liverpool do need to freshen it up a little bit, because we weren't leggy against Wolves. I think that's just an easy cop out sometimes. I think we tried to play within ourselves once we got 2-0 up and couldn't get ourselves back out of second gear. And maybe it was a little bit of mental fatigue of, dropping points against Everton so late. But I think this is a game where they've got to be sharp and they've got to be up for the battle, because I think this is going to be a tough game.
Yeah, it was interesting to hear Slot actually address those concerns pretty clearly and concisely. He was talking about, that it costs a lot of energy for everyone involved when you do go through a game like that Everton game, where it feels like the world is pretty much going against you, and where it feels like, you've finally gotten over the line, and at the very last second, which probably shouldn't have even been allowed, you go down. And it felt like a loss to me. I'm sure it probably felt like a loss to a lot of fans, but he went through that in detail, and he talked about how, it was understandable the way that the team reacted. He said his words were that only 1 or 2 of them looked physically exhausted, but the rest were fit. They just seemed like they were mentally exhausted. Yeah. But he then went on to talk a little bit about how getting over the line against Wolves, even though they didn't play their best, that the energy in the camp now is very different. So how do you, Kev, feel like, this team is going to handle going into this Villa game? Do you think they're going to be really up for it? Do you think the momentum has shifted since the Everton game? Do you think that there might be kind of like a siege mentality going on?
It could be all of that, and the fact that this is the 3rd game in the run of 5, really. The reason why Villa wanted this one changed, this one was dropped in on Villa. It made it now that Villa have got 5 games in 14 days. Okay, and you look at the back line that they're likely to put out. Their biggest problem isn't the injury so much, it's their inability to be able to change anything. That's their biggest problem. They can replace Digne and Maatsen, but other than that, they're struggling. For us, it's going to be a case of play our game. We've got a pretty good game plan to play against these sides. As long as we move it quickly and starve Villa of the ball, be aware of the counter-attacking threat that they have, and they do. Villa will likely look to target Gravenberch more than anyone. They'll try to get someone like
Begin.
I think they'll probably look more than likely at Rodgers or Ramsey or both to buzz in and around him and play off him and double up on him if need be. And if it's little things within a game that you have to adapt to counter that and to be aware of their threats. I'd be surprised if Rashford starts, but then again, it wouldn't surprise me if Emery looks at it as a horses for courses selection. He knows Trent is likely to start. He knows Trent likes to tuck inside and get forward and get involved. And he knows Rashford has form against him and a good record against Liverpool, goal-scoring record against Liverpool. So,
plus they've got Chelsea on the weekend, which is probably their one of the bigger games. You know, if they're going to try and catch them to get to the top four. So I think that's why I'm thinking they may try Rashford just to try and fresh up the few areas they can fresh up, which is wide and left back. Just give them a bit of freshness. That's all I'm thinking. The
other side of it is the home game. They'll want to try and take as many possible points at home, irrespective of who it's against. They shouldn't care. The fact that it's Liverpool is just another chance to boost their confidence and get 3 points at home in front of their fans. And Villa Park can be a good atmosphere if the fans get up. So it's up to us really to take the atmosphere and the sting out of the game. It's like any game. Ideally, you want to start well. You know, give Martinez some work to do, because I think it's probably the one thing in the last few games that we really haven't done is work the keeper enough. Even if it's shots from outside the box, crosses, you name it. You've got a centre-back pairing that have very little game time with each other going to be playing against you. So whoever we play up from, put some crosses in. You know, force them to make decisions and see what they do. You know, that's their weakness. Their weakness is at the back. You know, they've likely start with Digne and Garcia at fullback, but they're experienced. The other two are still figuring each other out. And if they want to play out from the back, you can get at them if they're indecisive in how they play their passing through the lines as well. So there's ways and means around getting around Aston Villa. But we said at the very start, you have to be really on it. You have to be really sharp in how you play. Your passing has to be on point. Trent can't have another day like he had the other night, turning the ball over in bad areas against forwards with guile, pace, aggression, and a forward like Ollie Watkins who can finish. You know, your passing has to be on it.
And to be fair, most of the team can't have a passing performance like they had at the weekend, because I don't think anybody in the team passed it well. They were all pretty atrocious.
Yeah, I think that passing better than this weekend is going to be a low bar to try to
it's like putting a good corner in, isn't it, Ashley?
I mean, the corners will probably be the death of me. Like the day, you know, I know Arsenal for Life is in the chat and we always kind of banter with the set piece coach, but I genuinely think that we need one. If we have one already, he might want to consider like a job.
We're not highlighting it, are we? If we have got one.
I mean, he doesn't really have anything to highlight, so he might want to consider just switching jobs quietly in the distance.
I suppose defensively, to be fair, actually our record against corners defensively is actually very good.
I know. I mean, I'm just playing. I mean, it's one of those things where we have games where
it is a concern.
Corners in a row, and it's like, just work the keeper, please, for God's sake.
It's just another string to your bow if we have it, just as a backup, because sometimes it's just handy to be pretty decent at them.
It's definitely an attacking threat that we don't have that Arsenal does have, and I'm perfectly fine with admitting that. I think that if you look at the pizza chart in terms of our attacking numbers, they're actually we outpace Arsenal in a lot of those attacking numbers, but when it comes to corners and set pieces, it's like night and day. It's really something that we could work on, and especially if we're talking about marginal gains as we go, I think it's an area that Slot will probably look toward, and I hope that we probably see. I don't know. I'm curious what you guys think about, the rotation that might be happening in this game, because I know that we talk about Tsimikas as a set piece threat. Do you think that he's someone, Kev, that he might get some minutes in this game? What do you foresee happening in terms of rotation and especially just squad management going into, we've got 3 big games coming up?
Yeah, look, I think it wouldn't surprise me if Costa started. Wouldn't surprise me if I expect Jones to start, to be honest. And it's 50-50 as to what you want from your number 9. how did Jota come out of that game, that 60 minutes he played the other night? If he comes out of that and he's recovered well, does he go again? Do you want the physical presence of Darwin Nunes, who's going to harass and harry centre back pairing, and maybe gives you a bit of an aerial threat? It's horses for courses. How did Trent come out? After his first start in a while, how did he recover? And you're right. It is. We have got, Sunday, Wednesday for a while. So what does he want to do? I think he'll have to make some changes, but I don't think the changes that he makes are going to be like, oh my God, panic stations, Costas is starting. Or
not going to be wholesale changes by any means.
No, I think there could be 3, but I think the 3 that are coming in are players that if they were coming on the hour, you'd be fine with. So if they started and you got an hour out of them, I think most people are going to be fine with. I don't expect a Harvey Elliott. I don't expect Wataru Endo. I don't expect Kwanzaa to start. I just think that the changes that he makes are ones that will be pretty predictable. And it'll be about freshness, keeping sharp, energy levels, plus what they can offer you. Because I think if you look at Costas, for example, he can put crosses in. He can put crosses in. He can put good set-piece delivery in. The only thing I worry about him, and I've always worried about him, is when he jumps in too high up the pitch and he doesn't get a ball and he leaves Virgil open and isolated. That's probably
it's a Costas special. I know exactly what you're talking about.
But yeah,
he probably does it once or twice a game.
Robertson did it like 2 or 3 times against Wolves, and I was like, "What is going on?" Like I thought I was watching Simicast.
But it's definitely something they're told to do because Trent does it. Trent does it where he's on the halfway line and he'll turn around and try to press the ball in midfield and trust the fact that Konate can deal with whoever's coming at him one-on-one. Yeah. And the advantage is you win that high up the pitch. They're on transition. You've got 3 or 4 players going the other way and you're in. So, and you might be in once or twice in a season that it'll really work well. And there are 2 goals, 2, 3, 4 goals, whatever. But sometimes it will catch you and it will bite you.
It's like playing the really high line. The reason you do it is to suffocate the team and keep the ball and really put them under pressure. But the one time you get caught with it, you're probably leaving your keeper one-on-one, and you've got to sort of cop for that. You've got to take risks somewhere, otherwise, you won't get any chance anywhere, really.
All right, one sec, hang on. Okay, Brett Young here with a comment. Really should be 9 points clear and go 12 tomorrow if this league wasn't corrupt. Stop it, will you? You're starting to say you sound like an Arsenal fan. Look, the league isn't corrupt.
Don't torture yourself. I think that we all understand.
Don't give them that much credit.
We all understand the frame of thought that goes into that, and we all feel aggrieved by what has happened. Yeah. But at the same time, I think looking for those external excuses is something that, let's leave that to other teams. I think that that's something that feels like a desperation thing when you are going through your first title chase. This is not our first rodeo. The team as a whole has kind of responded to this, and they've said, it feels like it's us against the world. So they acknowledge that there's definitely something going on, but let's not go searching for excuses for why the team's not performing. I think that we can definitely, as a team, do better, regardless of what any sort of external stimulus is doing.
I think I think it's fair, right? The last 3-4 games, I don't think we've been anywhere near the levels that we've needed to be at.
No, we definitely haven't been.
We haven't.
If you look at you can actually see it mapped out in terms of our shots and our shots faced and everything. There is a clear dip that has happened in the last couple of games. So we're not seeing things.
Yeah. So in fairness, if you're Villa, this is actually not the worst time in the world to be playing us. It's like we know that the changes that we're going to make are going to be fairly predictable. The bulk of our starting 11 is going to be pretty much the same. And they have to get over this mental block and control games and I think the way we won the other night will probably help them in the long run. The fact that we can play shit, play ugly, get it over the line, get the Everton one out of the system. Slot made a great point in his press conference. For the last 20 minutes of that game against Everton, we were 20 plus 8. We were absolutely fine. After they scored, we were absolutely fine. Or for the last 20 minutes of the game, we controlled it really well. And then the chaos came. And we didn't deal with the chaos. The fact that we did it the other night, there was a stat that came out, and it showed, I think I posted it in our group, where it showed Mateus Cunha and his pitch involvements, his shots around the edge of the box and what have you, before Wataru Endo came on and after. After Wataru Endo came on with the specific job to man mark Mateus Cunha out the game, Mateus Cunha didn't get a shot, didn't get a pass, didn't get nothing. He got the sweet sum of nothing out of the rest of that game. After being lauded and playing really well, and getting loads of plaudits, when Wataru Endo came on, he just shut him up. And I love the fact that Slot made that change early enough. And hopefully it gives him the confidence that we're in that position again. Endo can come on and do that job. No problem. And he's more than capable of doing it. Listen, I'll be back in 2 secs. All right?
Yeah. I think it was really, really smart man management, the way that Slot talked about Endo in the press conference and the way that he truly, obviously Endo's not playing loads of minutes for us, but we all see his contribution, but to have a manager come out and use that as an opportunity, he didn't need to say anything, but he went out of his way and really praised Endo. And he did it in a way that wasn't kind of like overly gratuitous. Like he made comments like, oh, well, it's a lot easier when you're a defender than when you're trying to create an attack. So he was clever about it, but I think, you're just kind of seeing hints of Slot's man management and skill as a coach. Like the more and more I see him in these press conferences. I don't know if you caught that, Chris, but how do you think he's handling his team management at the moment? Do you think he's doing a good job? Could he rotate more?
You would have probably liked a little bit more rotation, but on the flip side, you have to be honest, some of the players you thought would get a few more minutes, the likes of, say, a Chiesa and Elliott, haven't really taken that opportunity when they've been given it. I think Chiesa was good against PSV by some distance, but then he was atrocious against Plymouth. Elliott hasn't got going all season. So I think he's rotated where he can. I personally think he could have used Endo a little bit more. But listen, credit to the manager. I was critical of him not bringing Endo on in the derby because I felt we needed that thing. We needed that situation. You start to get a similar feel in the Wolves game. And he threw him on, and Endo does what Endo does. I think the glowing term you can say about Endo is he's a bit of that James Miller where he goes, it doesn't matter where I have to put him. I just say to him, you're playing there. Doesn't have to explain anything. Leaves him to it. And when he comes on, he's ready. And Endo does what Endo does.
He's a leader. Like, I think that's, and it's not just a leader. He's a senior leader that understands like what it takes to handle that situation. I think we have loads of leaders in our team. We have loads of really young international captains in our team, like Szoboszlai. But to have Endo come on and be able to bring that kind of wise head, I think that's something that, like, those are the individuals, even though they're not the ones that are going to get the glory. They're not going to get like the headlines, but they're the ones that carry you over the line in these hunts for big trophies. At least that's my opinion. And I think that there are a few teams in this league that are currently trying to win a trophy that don't necessarily have the same kind of characters that we do. What do you think about that,
Kev? I think we've got enough experience, but there's a big difference. When you actually look at it, the amount of players who are left from the title-winning squad: Virgil, Alisson, Robertson, Trent,
Salah,
Jones.
Elliott and Jones. Elliott and Jones. They were on the fringes. They weren't playing a lot.
Yeah,
but they were in it.
Ali was there.
Simicast.
There's a few, but there's a chunk. McAllister's won a World Cup, so he knows what it's like to play under serious pressure, under the biggest pressure. because I can't imagine what it must be like to go out in a World Cup final playing for Argentina with the weight of the nation on your shoulders, because he was so pivotal. He knows what that's like, but so does Emi Martinez, and they've got some really good players too. So, I mean, I was just looking at it. I just had a quick look at some of the factor on the game. Villa scored 8 in their last 5 games. They haven't kept a clean sheet in 7. Lucas Digne has created the most chances for Villa this season with 12.
Not surprised with the crossing, though, to be fair.
Yeah, and for us, we've scored 10 in our last 5. We've kept the most clean sheets in the Premier League this season with 10. And Mo Salah is the league's top scorer at 23. And you compare Watkins and Salah, I mean, Salah's on 23 goals, Watkins is on 11, which if you're scoring 11 goals at this time of the season, you're having a good season. You're not having a great season. You're having a really good season for a side that's in the top 8, looking to push into Europe. And that's normal. That's a decent season. He's actually performing slightly underperforming his XG over the season, whereas Salah is overperforming his XG by about 3.
Well, and Salah also has, this will be another game where he can set a couple new records where, he already has the most ever goal involvements for any player for the away from home games. So he's at 23 there in terms of goals and assists. Anything he does from this point on in the season, he's creating new records. So his ability to perform away from home is pretty much unparalleled. So I think that he's definitely going to play a role. And I think that, he's one of the shoo-ins for our attack. And I think in terms of, we've seen today that Gakpo is going to be out for the day. He seems like he might be on, or I don't know. It looks like he might be back for City. I wouldn't hang your hat on it.
Well, he said he was close, and he said Gakpo's close, but not for tomorrow. So you wonder if it's one of those sort of injuries. If it was a semi-final, you'd probably see him in the squad.
You'd probably see him on the bench, I think.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like it was an ankle injury, so it's one of those things where it's probably painful, but it's probably not incapacitating.
Yeah, it's not ligament. It's not muscle related. It was a bang.
It was a knock.
You could see when he came off, he was limping. It was definitely one that he took, probably a sore one. But yeah, I fully expect him to be available, even if it's off the bench for the Man City game. And that, I'm kind of gutted, really, that we're playing tomorrow night. I'd love to be able to watch the City.
Me too.
Just because I'll watch the highlights.
There'll be a couple split screens going on. There'll be people that have got multiple things, or I'll at least throw it on
more
myself.
than likely.
But I do think that, that kind of makes our forward line, we've got 2 people that are definitely going to start. We've got kind of a coin toss going on in the middle of the park. Do you guys want to go through your potential starting 11? Chris, maybe let's start with the goalkeeper that we all kind of agree on and then move up from there.
So, Jaros and goal then.
So I was starting Kelleher,
Let's see. We can't agree on anything, can we? No, Alisson in goal. I assume it'll be Trent, Konate, Van Dijk. I think Kostas will come in. Just because I don't see Robbo doing 3 intense games in a week. I just don't think that's going to happen. Midfield is the one I can't decide on, because I agree with Ken. I think Jones should start, seeing he's had a game off with his suspension. But I feel like you need Szoboszlai's physicality in this game, and then it's a toss up between McAllister and Gravenberch. I don't particularly want to see either of them on the bench, so it's actually a nice problem to have. You're going to say Endo, aren't you? Yeah, I know you're going to say to start Endo, aren't you?
No, I would have. I'd have the same back 4 as you. I'd have a midfield 2, McAllister and Gravenberch. I'd have Jones in the 10. I'd have Szoboszlai on the left wing.
Oh, okay.
Salah on the right wing, and Diaz up front. So
that would be unexpected. I think Slot kind of. I think he kind of gave a hint with the Jota comment at the end, where he was like, Jota hasn't been fit for a while, but we expect him to be fit for the next 3 games, and we expect him to play a lot of minutes. So my instinct is going to be Jota just based on that information.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would be very surprised to see him go that drastic in terms of rotation.
I think the reason why Slot won't be opposed to it, you get the physicality of Szoboszlai. He played a good season, probably his best season at RB Leipzig off the left wing. When he plays for Hungary, he plays as a support striker, a second striker, a 10, but he always drifts out into the left because he can come back in onto his strong foot. I don't think he's got the trickery to beat wingers, but he's definitely got the pace and power to chase balls over the top and to run at centre backs. You know, he's got that about his game. And I think that, look, he could very easily go with Jota. He could, you know, he might turn around and say to Szoboszlai, okay, start Jones, and Szoboszlai is on the bench and comes off later in the game for whoever needs to be rested, you know, whoever he wants to rotate. If he wants to bring McAllister off on the hour, drop Jones back and Szoboszlai goes in at 10. But I wouldn't mind seeing Szoboszlai given a go, or Jones given a go, but preferably Szoboszlai given a go on that left-hand side, because I think he could do a very similar job.
Even after we saw, I mean, I'm not going to call it a renaissance because it was a shit game, but
that was his best game.
You saw Diaz look better on the left wing in that last game. I personally, I think I would like to see him get a run of games there while he can. I mean, Gakpo's only going to be out, like, theoretically until this weekend.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's Diaz's best position. I think he's being shoehorned into that 9 position. I don't think there's any coincidence that we see him get a goal and assist from his favorite left. You know, I think we have a player there that can do it unless he is injured, fatigued, or whatever. I don't know why Slot would change it personally.
I think I'm just spitballing. The only reason he changes anything is if Jota isn't fit enough to do another hour. You know, if Jota is fit, I mean, he came off the bench, didn't he? Against Everton. Did he come off the bench against Everton?
Yeah, he's the one who came on instead of Endo for the last 4 minutes.
That was the moment where we were all like, "What is this sub?
Yeah.
Why is this happening?"
Then you got an hour out of him. As long as he's recovered well, odds are he starts.
I think so. I mean, he hasn't started since Chelsea, so it's been a long time since Jota started. I mean, that rib injury really, you know, for a small injury, it was not so small. And I think we've seen that with Jota's injuries where, you know, a minor injury could be like 3 months. You know, so I think he's one of those players, though, like when he's fit, you play him because you have no idea when he's going to drop because he's like, you know, made of whatever kind of biscuit or cookie
crackers
choice. Yeah. You know, because he I don't think he'll stay fit for the rest of the season. I don't think there's anything he can do to prevent that. That being said, you know, I do think that there probably will be a role for Nunes. I think that he really stood out looking back on the highlights of the last game as someone that did not step up to the plate. You know, what are your guys' feelings on, you know, how he's going to be used for the rest of the season, Chris?
I just think he's going to be the rotation option for his pace on the break. I mean, listen, unfortunately, he wasn't great when he came off the bench against Villa. But because before that, I thought he was going to start the Villa game before Wolves because he has Villa and Newcastle, 2 clubs he does well against, and because they play quite high lines, I thought it suits him.
Could be an
but actually, at the moment, I think with Darwin is that enigma. You'll get anonymous performances like that, but then you'll get the Tottenham one, where although he didn't score, he scared the living shit out of Tottenham and ran their defence ragged and was a nuisance in a good way. I think he's just that. I think we just ride Jota when he's sorry, not just Nunes when he's ready, but he wants to rise with the same front 3, 1 change in the back 4, and I think Jones comes to the midfield, and I think it's a flip of a coin who you drop out. But put it this way, whoever doesn't start, Endo, Szoboszlai, Nunes or Jota are definitely coming on at some point because we're going to need the squad and the bench to get a win tomorrow because Villa away is tough. I know people say they got injuries now, but despite their injuries, it's still a tough side.
Oh, I don't think you should go into this underestimating Villa. I think they'll give you a hard game. I think, like we all said at the beginning of the show, they were very unlucky against Ipswich. I mean, they should have gotten it over the line. Ipswich were down to 10, but I think they hit the bar. There were they got plenty of shots off. It was just one of those days where
their only home defeat in the league this year was to Arsenal, which was
on the first day of the season, wasn't it?
Yeah, second or third game of the season. So they haven't lost a game at home in the league since August.
Yeah,
so they've got silly draw.
Don't go into this thinking it's going to be a cakewalk. Like, it is going to be a difficult game. I think our team tends to do better though when it's these, I'll use the term higher caliber opposition loosely.
Yeah, like the Bournemouth game.
Yeah, I think when they
style
feel like
suits
it's
us
a little bit more of a challenge, when it's not going to be that back five of defenders and a whole midfield that's just clogged up. I think that what you'll see
is who want to have a go.
Yeah, exactly. I think that
and Villa need the points.
We look good when we play against teams that actually want to play football and don't want to park the bus.
One thing on Darwin Nunes, he's only had 7 starts this season. He's played 20 games, so his availability is there for he's always available.
Yeah, that's
he's always available, but he's only started 7 and 4 goals, 2 assists. He's played 867 minutes. Right now, if you look at, for example, Luis Diaz, let me just bring his up for a second. He's played nearly 1,600 minutes. 24 matches played. He started 19. Scored 9, 2 assists. So whenever he's available, he'll play. Unless it's through resting and proper full rotation. It's very rare that Luis Diaz misses games, but he's played nearly, not quite, but almost double the number of minutes that Darwin Nunes has played this season. And that in itself tells a story. So it's like,
I think there's reasons why, certain players are being chosen, certain players are not being chosen. There's definitely some big decisions to be made in this summer. But in terms of right now, let's walk through our predictions. Chris, why don't you start with predictions, goal scorers, what you think will happen in the match?
I'm gonna go 2-1 Liverpool. Salah and Jota. And I think Watkins will score for them because Watkins always scores against Villa.
He hasn't scored in any of his last 4 against us, but I think in terms of opponents, we are his 3rd favorite opponent to score against.
Yeah, he always likes scoring against us.
So he does enjoy scoring against us. Kev, what about you? What about you for your?
I've gone for plenty of goals. I think it'll be 4-2 to us.
I prefer that a bit of calm.
I think it'll be a late 4th, by the way.
4-2.
I think this game throws up goals. I think Villa are built to attack. This Villa side have to attack you. With the amount of players they've got. Look, this is the predicted lineup for Villa, okay? Garcia, Disasi, Mings, Digne. Then you've got a midfield of Tielemans, McGinn, Ramsey, Rodgers, Rashford, Watkins.
Okay.
And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 attack-minded players. And John McGinn is a box-to-box jack of all trades. 2 full-backs to get forward, leaving 2 centre-backs to, mind the shot behind you. So they're built to go for it. They're really built to go for it. And the fact that they haven't kept a clean sheet in 7 tells you that they'll have a right go. I just think that on the counter, if we're clinical, if we're on it, we can really get at them and cause them all kinds of problems. That's why I think this game has goals written all over.
I mean, I think there'll be goals. I don't think I'm going to go quite as high as that. I mean, I would love us to just blow them away. I'm going to go 3-1 Liverpool. I think I for some reason it just feels like clean sheets are hard to come by for us. I think a lot of the game is going to be dictated by how we handle the midfield. I'm curious to see if Jones does play, if he might kind of do a similar thing to what happened with Palmer, where he did a really good job of keeping Palmer quiet. I think he could do that to Tielemans. So I think that might be something that's interesting. In terms of goal scorers, I think you're going to have to go with Mo to be involved. I would love to see Jota really get fully back into scoring rhythm. I think he is our most dangerous finisher. And I think, you know, if I'm going to give it the third one to Saab is like late coming on for Jones. You know, just giving that late burst of energy and, you know, a little bit of squad rotation. I think Watkins is probably the goal scorer for them. I wouldn't be surprised though if it was Rashford, you know, because the storyline is written there for some sort of little renaissance for him, but whatever. We'll let that be. I think it's going to be a win. You know, I think that a lot of us are feeling really nervy after that Everton performance. I think, you know, if we can just kind of get slowly back into the momentum that we saw before, I think that'll be great. You know, and that's what I'm hoping for at least. So I think that's probably where we'll wrap things up. I'm going to mention, Gav wanted me to mention Phil's projects. So he has Peter's. I can read, I swear. Peter's projects. So he has the Enigma show at Vickers Street in Dublin in June. And then he has a new film called Code Red in Spain, which is set to be released later this year. He is a longtime guest on this show. And I swear to God, I really do know his name. I just, you know, can't read. But if you're in the area, feel free to check that out. You know, he will be back on the show as a guest. Probably not too soon. He obviously has a very full dance card at the moment, doing more important things than what we're doing. So yeah, check that out. You know, look into our membership. We are moving over to Patreon coming up. There's going to be a whole load of new shows. When Gav kind of mentions that we have a lot set up, I don't even think that's covering the tip of the iceberg. There's going to be so much more content, shows that we've been wanting to do for a while but haven't had the capacity to do on YouTube. We're going to be able to do it on this Patreon platform. So definitely something to look into, especially if you're not a member. If you're interested in it, just, you know, let us know. talkinkop1@gmail.com. We are always available for inquiries. So that'll be coming down the line on March 18th. And for those of you that are members, stay tuned because we have a Room 101 coming in about 12 minutes now. So as soon as we come off, Gav and I believe Matt are coming on and they're going to talk all sorts of nonsense. So check in with that. And yeah, thanks everyone for coming on and joining us today. Thanks, Kev. Thanks, Chris. Do you guys have anything left to say? Anything, closing words, Chris?
No, nothing from me.
Awesome. Kev?
Look forward to tomorrow night now. There's some gossip. Transfer gossip.
Oh, God.
Transfer gossip before we go.
Go on, then. Go on. Is it an indie one?
No, it's coming from Football Insider. There's two different ones. Liverpool preparing an offer to offer Uruguay forward Darwin Nunes plus cash in exchange for Newcastle's £100 million rated Swedish forward Alexander Isak. And the other one, Liverpool are set for a busy summer transfer activity with Barcelona and Netherlands midfielder Frankie de Jong on the list of players the Reds might go for. That's from transfertalkinggossip.com / ain't got nothing to write about until May. So just thought I'd let you all know.
I think they also leaked
transfer window. Like they could at least give us till, I don't know, March before they start hounding us with this kind of stuff.
No.
They never sleep, do they?
They never sleep.
Well, on that fun note, you know, let's have Nunes just come on and bang in like a hat trick and just shut everyone up. It'll just be fantastic. But yeah, I'm going to close it on that. I'm going to say goodnight to everyone. And like I said, tune into the show in about 12 minutes if you're a member. And if you're not a member, just consider joining because it's amazing and the chaos is never ending. So we'll talk to you guys later. Have a great night. See you soon.